What is up, Mountaineer Nation, and welcome to this live edition of Couz's Corner. We're going to talk about some recruiting updates. We're going to talk about an update regarding former West Virginia coach Neal Brown. And I'm going to give you an update at the end, not really an update, but I'm going to talk about two quarterbacks that I think the Mountaineers need to try and get if and when they have the opportunity. One is a high school player. One is a player who is planning to enter the transfer portal. And I think both would be massive gets for Coach Rodriguez and the Mountaineers. I'll also provide a few other updates as we go through regarding recruiting players that West Virginia are going after, some that they weren't able to get, so on and so forth. So thank you for joining the show, whether you're watching live or watching on the playback. It's much appreciated. Thanks, Kevin Varney, for jumping on, brother. I appreciate you. And WVU for us is in the house as well. Says, let's go Mountaineers. All right, now let's go ahead and jump over to the first topic of the show. And let's talk about some recruits West Virginia has been able to land, some of which are SEC caliber players. West Virginia either beat out the SEC for these guys or they were SEC flips. The first one I want to talk about is a safety that West Virginia was able to get. We did an article about him over at our website, wvsportschat.com. But his name is Damari Williams. WVU football adds former SEC commit to secondary. He snagged a verbal commitment from junior college standout Damari Williams on Monday. The safety from Coffeyville Community College in Kansas picked the Mountaineers over several other Power 4 suitors, bolstering WVU's 2026 class, now up to 34 hard commits and climbing. The Silva, North Carolina native out of Smoky Mountain High School brings size and athleticism to the secondary. He stands 6'3". He is the third. I'm stopping the article for a minute, but he's the third DB that they got a commitment from yesterday alone that is 6'3". They got the two corners, Damon Allen and Rashawn Robinson, I believe. No, Reynolds. Rashawn Reynolds and Damon Allen. I did a video on both of those guys. I'll leave a link to it at the end for those who are watching on the replay. But they added a 6'3" safety to the mix as well with Damari Williams. It gets better, though. I mentioned he stands 6'3". He weighs 205 pounds. During his freshman season at Coffeyville, the three-star recruit racked up 39 tackles and 2 interceptions. One was returned for a touchdown, which showcases ball skills. He's rated as a 3-star recruit. According to 24/7 Sports, he ranks as the number 40 overall JUCO player in the 2026 class and the number 6 safety nationally and number 9 in the state of North Carolina among JUCO recruits. He flipped to WVU after a brief commitment to Kentucky, where he chose the Wildcats over offers from Mississippi State, Houston, UCF, and Charlotte. So he originally he chose Kentucky over the schools I just mentioned. Just a day or two later, he decommits from Kentucky and gets an offer from West Virginia. I think he went on a visit, liked what he saw, liked what he heard, and decided to come to Morgantown. It's my understanding he has 2 years of eligibility remaining. I think this is a good get. He's a guy who's physically ready to come in and contribute right away. And these JUCO players, Rich Rod likes them because he's going to need guys who can come in and play right away, and there won't be a ton of freshmen who can do that. Junior college players are more physically ready to play. They should be really hungry to prove themselves, which means they're probably going to be dedicated, committed to their cause, whether it be practice, whether it be, doing the extra stuff off the field, like watching film and whatnot. A lot of fans don't like all these JUCO players. He's only going to have a handful of JUCO players. Most of his players will be high school recruits, and then he'll fill gaps as well in the transfer portal. But this was a big get that I hadn't been able to do a show on yet that I wanted to talk about. The one I'm really excited about, especially for the future, is Jonas Muya, who West Virginia, and I hope I pronounced his name right, they actually got a commit from him today. He's an offensive lineman. But before we get to him, let's talk about Deshawn Woods, another offensive lineman WVU got a commitment from yesterday. They got 4 commitments Monday alone. This one also, all 4 of them were JUCO players. This is an offensive lineman. He originally committed to Wyoming coming out of high school in 2022 as a 4-star recruit. He actually committed to Missouri, then flipped to Wyoming. Did not play at Wyoming, the best I can tell. went the junior college route to Butler Community College. He's a 6'5", 280-pound offensive lineman. I think 24/7 lists him as an interior offensive lineman. He's originally from Omaha, Nebraska, but he's a really good player. He's as I mentioned, a 4-star gem in the 2022 class. He drew offers coming out of high school. He had offers from Missouri, Arizona State, Texas A&M, LSU, Penn State, Florida, Miami, and more. So this is a big get. Deshawn Woods. I reached out to someone to get who played offensive line at the collegiate level to get their take on this young man. And here's what they had to say. By the way, their name is Sam. Appreciate you, Sam, for helping me out here. But he says, very athletic young man. He has really good bend as well. So, he does need to improve a little bit in his technique. Probably be a little bit more physical, have a little bit more of a mean streak about him, but he really likes his potential. His biggest upside is his athleticism. If he can get bigger and stronger, as well as clean up his technique and develop a nasty streak, he could be a player for West Virginia. So, needs to polish himself up a little bit, which he can do. That's what practice is for. Coach Rod likes his offensive lineman to be over 300 pounds. So this guy's got a little bit of weight to gain. He's 280 right now. He is 6'5", so he's got length. It'll be interesting to see if West Virginia plans to use him as he played tackle at Butler Community College. Will they use him as a tackle, or will they move him to the inside and have him play guard? That'll be interesting to see. But that's Deshawn Woods, an offensive lineman from the JUCO ranks that West Virginia's bringing in. It's my understanding he also has 2 years of eligibility remaining. Now let's go to the guy that I'm really excited about and I think has the most upside of any of these guys I'm talking about, and that is Jonas Muya. I think Jonas Muya, and again, his name's Muya. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He's a 6'7". Some have him listed at 6'8", 280 pounds. It's the player you saw on the thumbnail, actually, of this live show. He's from Bishop Luers High School in LaPorte, Indiana. He's an 89 rated 3-star recruit, so he's 1 point away from being a 4-star. Once you get to 90, you're a 4-star. He's an 89 3-star. Rated as the number 36 tackle in the country, according to Rivals, actually. Number 7 player in the state of Indiana. Here are some of the schools that he chose West Virginia over: Oklahoma, Tennessee, Minnesota, Purdue, and Cincinnati. That's just a few of them. Oklahoma and Tennessee apparently made a very late aggressive push, but he ended up choosing West Virginia. And I really loved what he posted about on social media. To me, it shows his level of maturity. Now, this young man, what makes him unique is he's only played high school football for 1 year. He was a high school basketball standout before. But he chose to go the football route his senior year of high school, and already he's getting offers from Power 4 schools all over the country, including those in the SEC. But here's what he put on social media. Today, I proudly announce my commitment to WVU football. Coming from far away, this represents a significant step towards the future I've envisioned for myself. I've faced numerous sacrifices and trials, including the pain of putting aside my first love for basketball. But I persevered and grew stronger as a result. Each obstacle has fueled my determination to achieve my goals. With honor and unwavering resolve, I commit to West Virginia University. This is the new next chapter. Just take me home. #WVU. So that right there shows me a level of maturity this young man has. And when I first read from far away, I'm thinking, it ain't that far from Indiana to West Virginia, but he's originally from the Congo. I didn't know that until I did some research on him, which would explain why I can't pronounce his last name. But Muya is a very, very a big pickup for West Virginia. When you're able to beat out Tennessee, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Minnesota, schools like that. Minnesota, even though they're not looked at as a high-level program, man, they put out they're an offensive line factory. They put out a ton of offensive linemen. Remember back in 21 when West Virginia played them in a bowl game, how good they were up front? They're a typical Big Ten school. They churn out offensive linemen like crazy. But he likes what they're doing in Morgantown. He likes the culture. He likes what the future looks like. We also have an article about him over at the site as well. So go check it out. Again, his name was Jonas Muya, M-U-Y-A. Jonas Muya. Very, very good pickup for West Virginia. 6'7", 6'8". I mean, just a massive, massive human being. Needs to put on some weight, just like Deshawn Woods does. And he's very raw. He is very raw, but his athleticism is going to take him a long way. Here's the write-up Sam did for me on Muya. I don't really consider – I don't mind breaking down film. I can break down wide receivers. I can break down quarterbacks a little bit. I can break down DBs a little bit. There are certain positions I struggle with. Offensive line is one of them. So I reached out. I thought, you know what? This guy played offensive line. I'm sure he knows what he's talking about. So here's his breakdown. Pros, very athletic. Prototypical size and length. Moves well in space. Gets on his second-level blocks quickly and is a good finisher. He's extremely raw, like I mentioned. Lacks a little bit of explosiveness. Not overly dominant at the point of attack. Needs to improve his technique and play with a lower pad level more consistently. Overall, the kid has potential written all over him. He checks all the boxes you're looking for in a recruit. He needs a fair amount of development. His technique is sloppy, and he doesn't strike me as a kid who spent a lot of time in the weight room, but that can be explained because of why. He only played 1 year of high school football. So he probably hasn't needed to lift a ton of weights, at least not football weight. There's a difference between lifting weights for basketball and lifting weights for football. Now he'll be able to get in a top-notch weight training program at a Power 4 school and lift football weight. And he could be a beast. The good news is those are two things that can be fixed pretty easily. I would anticipate him redshirting in the fall, and we'll see where he goes from there. So if you're already a 89 three-star being recruited by schools all over the country, and you've only played 1 year of high school football, that means your ceiling is extremely high. Sky's the limit for this young man. He can come in, maybe redshirt a year, learn a year under the new, under the staff, under the O-line coach, whether that be Jack McNeil or someone else, under Coach Rod. Learn from some of the veterans, that are going to be there in front of him, and grow in the program. That's what I like about this young man. And I think he has a chance to do that. I'm really excited about him. He has the physical tools, the size to be a P4 football player. Looks like he has the attitude and the work ethic to go with it. Seems to be a fit for the Mountaineers and what they're looking for in their football players. All right, let me go ahead and jump into the chat room real quick before we get over to our next topic. Got to thank WVU Fan 13 for chiming in. He says, pay attention to Old Dominion QB Colton Joseph. Don't spoil my parade, man. Just kidding. Perfect fit for our offense. He accounted for 66% of ODU total offense, 1,007 yards rushing, 34 total touchdowns, rumored hitting the portal. Shannon Miller is also in the house, another VIP member, says, I've been preaching Colton Joseph since the Marshall game at WVU Fan 13. All right. I'm actually going to talk about him later. Browns and Beers in the house. He says, Neal to North Texas was confirmed. Happy for him. It was awesome. So there's no need for me to even do that, right? I'll still talk about it. But I was going to talk about how it's been reported that he's one of the top candidates. So thank you for providing that update, Browns and Beers. That's when you do a live show, man, news can break while you're on here and you don't even know it. But thanks for the update. I appreciate it. Pete Thamel, of course. Let's go ahead and dig into that, right? Let's go ahead and dig into Neal Brown and North Texas. I'll go ahead and pull up apparently there was a tweet from Pete Thamel. I'll go ahead and pull it up. Sources. Neal Brown is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the next coach at North Texas. He brings 10 years of head coaching experience, including a 35-16 mark at Troy and a 37-35 mark at West Virginia. Brown's vast head coaching experience appealed to the North Texas brass. His overall track record of success indicates an ability to keep North Texas's momentum going. UNT plays in the American title game on Friday with a potential CFP bid on the line. Brown will replace Eric Morris, who is headed to Oklahoma State. Brown has a 5-1 record in bowl games and led Troy to the 2017 Sun Belt title. He also beat LSU and Nebraska as Troy's head coach. He spent last season on staff at Texas, and just to add on to that, he was a special assistant basically to head coach Steve Sarkisian, focusing on the offensive side. I know there was an article that came out. People were kind of mocking him about a little bit about him talking to Arch Manning about how important it is to eat breakfast every day. So, maybe he had a role in Arch Manning's improvement this year, right? Look, from a West Virginia fan, I am happy for Neal Brown. I really am. Neal Brown, for everything I've seen, heard about Neal Brown, he seems to be a good human being. He did things the right way at West Virginia. He tried to build a program the right way. I feel like he laid a decent foundation for Coach Rod to start with, as far as the facilities and things like that he was able to get done, the fifth quarter program, things like that he was able, on the academic side, things like that he was able to do while he was there. He didn't win enough football games. It's, that's been well documented, but I don't think Neal Brown's a bad football coach. I just, for whatever reason, it didn't fit at West Virginia. Maybe they didn't have the resources in place for him yet. Maybe just it wasn't a culture fit. I don't know. Whatever it was, it didn't work. But he had success at Troy. He's been a successful offensive coordinator before that. He's very well respected around the industry. I am happy for Neal Brown. Kudos to him and his family. He's not going to have to move very far. He can stay in the state of Texas, which I've heard. I've never been to Texas. Hope to go one day. I've heard it's a great place. He don't have to move very far, so they don't have to uproot and move to another state again. He gets to take over a program that's in a good spot. There, obviously, Ren Baker used to be the AD at North Texas. West Virginia just hired Ross Hodges, a basketball coach from North Texas. A lot of West Virginia connections at North Texas. Now there's another one. I'm sure Ren Baker probably put in a good word for Neal Brown. I would imagine he did. You'd think so, right? And here's where it benefits West Virginia as well. West Virginia, Neal Brown had a guaranteed contract with West Virginia where they had to pay him a buyout. Basically, when they fired him, they were paying him somewhere in the $3 to $4 million range annually. But there was an offset in there to where anything he made at a new job was taken off of what West Virginia paid him. So if, let's just say, for example, and I don't know his, salary situation at North Texas. Let's just say, for example, they pay him $2 million a year. That's $2 million less West Virginia has to pay him. That's $2 million more they can put towards revenue sharing or facilities or NIL or whatever they want to put it towards. Paying Rich Rod's staff more. Whatever you need to do, right? Maybe you give his staff a raise. I don't know. Whatever you need to do, the money, you now have more money to do that with. I think that's a big deal. Now, we would have loved to have seen it be a P4 job where all the money could be accounted for. And who knows? Some of these G6 schools are now paying almost as much as the lower level G5 jobs. I heard that Tulane was paying John Summerall $4.5 million a year. That's more than West Virginia's paying Rich Rodriguez. That's more than Kalani Sitake was making at BYU, I heard. Until now, obviously. That's a whole nother conversation. Looks like he's staying at BYU, by the way. But I'm happy for Neal. I'm happy for West Virginia in the program because now that's money they can take off the books, an expense they can take off the books, or at least a partial expense. And Neal's able to land a job. I'm sure he wants to be a head coach again. Gives him a chance to rebuild his image, rebuild his resume as a winner, get back on the right track, and maybe, who knows, in a few years, maybe he lands another P4 job. We'll see. I wish Neal Brown nothing but the best. Like I said, he's a good, seems to be a good human being. He's a good family man, has 3 awesome kids, a wife. And so I'm happy for him. I really am. Real quick, want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Appalachia Digital, the fine folks who designed our website over at wvsportschat.com, our fast growing website, by the way. Website's doing really well right now. I ask that you please go check it out. Go to wvsportschat.com for your written West Virginia content. Listen, we're not 24/7 sports. We're not, rivals. but we're not trying to be. All we're trying to do is give you the best news that we can, try to be a little different. We might put a little different spin on some things, maybe talk about some stuff you may not get at those other sites. And more importantly, it's free. It's not behind the paywall. You might have to put up with a few pesky ads, but hopefully the reading experience is not too bad. So go check us out at wvsportschat.com. Now, that site was designed by Appalachia Digital. They can design you a brand new site. They can level up your current site. Check them out at appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Let them know I sent you. Thank them for help for supporting what we're doing here on the show and over at the site. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the final topic, and then I'll get into the chat room. 2 quarterbacks WVU should go after, in my opinion. I've got it on the screen there as topics on tap, portal player, WVU, but there's actually another one I want to add to the list, and I forgot to change that graphic. Let's go ahead and talk about the portal player since WVU Fan 13 brought it up earlier. His name is Colton Joseph. My guy Carson Fox over at Fox on West Virginia Mountaineer Sports has been trying to wish this into existence for a while now. He loves this guy. Obviously, you guys do too. I got to be honest. I had not watched a snap of Old Dominion football, so I did not know who he was. But once I saw that he was rumored to be entering the transfer portal, I went and watched some highlights, and boy, oh boy, do I totally agree with you guys on this. Let me throw out some numbers to you. Colton Joseph, 2-year quarterback at Old Dominion, became the starter about 3 to 4 games into his freshman season. 6'2", 200 pounds from Newport Beach, California. In his 2 years at Old Dominion, was the full-time starter this year, and again, most of the season as a freshman. He's completed 60% of his passes for 4,251 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. Add to that, listen to his rushing numbers. He's rushed the ball 272 times for 1,654 yards, which is 6.1 yards per carry, and 24 touchdowns. He is a true dual threat quarterback. And he's 6'2", which makes it even better. He's a baller. Colton Joseph, if he goes into the portal, which it's rumored that he's going to, he's probably going to cost you some money. I'm sure West Virginia, if they choose to go after him, would not be the only team to do so. You might have to ante up and pay the guy. But let's be honest, you're going to have to pony up probably somewhere between $750,000 to $1 million to Scotty Fox. Now, I'll leave it up to you whether you think he's worth it or not. I'm still mixed on that. I go back and forth on it, but that's probably where they're going to have to, in order to retain Scotty Fox, you're probably going to have to pay him somewhere in the neighborhood of at least $750,000. That's a lot of money for a guy who started 4 or 5 games maybe, and his results were inconsistent, mixed, whatever you want to call it. He showed flashes of greatness, but also had some moments that you'd like to have back. Do you want to pay him, or would you rather spend that money and maybe add a little bit to it and go out and grab a guy like Colton Joseph, who has already 2 years of experience playing FBS football? I know it was only in the Sun Belt Conference. I get that. But he's a good football player. And listen, by the way, this past year he played 2 games against Power 4 opponents, a game against Indiana, which was a loss, and a game against Virginia Tech, which Old Dominion won. His game against Indiana, he was 11 for 22 passing for 96 yards. Doesn't blow you away, but again, it's Indiana. They're one of the top 2 teams in the country. However, he ran the ball 10 times for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he had a heck of a day on the ground. Against Virginia Tech, better day in the air. 16 of 22, which is 73%, 276 yards and 2 touchdowns. Carried it 8 times for 63 yards and a touchdown. So he is your true dual threat quarterback. I think he would be a perfect fit for Coach Rod's system. However, how important is it for Coach Rod to keep continuity? You know, he talked a lot about guys being a freshman in the system. Well, Colton Joseph would be a freshman in the system. The thing is, though, the players around him would not necessarily be freshmen in the system. If you can keep guys like Jaheim and hopefully Cam Vaughn and Rodney Gallagher and some of these veteran guys, maybe you even have a couple quarterbacks that stay around to compete for the job. They can help him, right? So It's different when your entire team is new to the system. But if you only have one guy new to the system, I think it makes it much easier on him than if everybody around him is new as well. It'd be a little bit easier for him to adjust, I think. So I personally think if he hits the portal, now do I want him to pay him $2 million a year? No. But if you can get him for $1 million a year, maybe $800,000 a year, somewhere in that range, I think you do it. Now, do you want to do that and keep Scotty Fox? Not sure. Some of that may depend on what other quarterbacks leave and what other quarterbacks are available. Also may depend on how good your freshmen are. And speaking of freshman quarterbacks, there is one that West Virginia may have a chance at getting that is, I think, could be a program changer at least in the next couple of years. His name is Peyton Falzone. Now, Peyton Falzone was actually recruited by West Virginia. Some of you may remember the name. When Rich Rod first got to Morgantown, he had Falzone in for a visit. I don't know if it was an official or an unofficial, but nonetheless, they met. And he even may have went to Falzone. I'm not sure. It may not have been a visit. Either way, West Virginia recruited him. He ended up committing to Penn State. He later flipped his commitment from Penn State to Auburn. Well, what just happened at Auburn? Coaching change. Hugh Freeze got canned. He's now reopened. He's now decommitted from Auburn and has reopened his recruitment. Now, Voice of Morgantown seems to think that that West Virginia has a good shot at him. We all remember the two gifts that the offensive staff put out a few days ago. Could Peyton Falzone be one of the players they were referring to in those gifts? He's 6'5", y'all. 6'5", 200 pounds, 4-star quarterback out of Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Auburn, Penn State, Utah, Iowa, just a few schools that were after his services. A 94-star by 24/7 Sports Composite, an 89 according to their regular rating, which I don't understand the difference. But anyway, the composite is all services combined. But anyway, according to their composite, he's a 4-star, top 20 quarterback in the country, and top 10 player in the state of Pennsylvania. It would be really cool to get Peyton. Now, he missed a large chunk of his senior season of high school with an injury, but I still think he's worth taking a chance on as a recruit, as a freshman recruit, because you don't necessarily, you hopefully won't need him to come in and play right away, because hopefully you'll either have Scotty Fox or maybe you go out and get a portal guy who's got some experience, whatever the case may be. You won't need him to play right away. Now, I know they already have a couple freshmen coming in that are good. Wyatt Walker-Brown, Jaron Hewley. I get it. My personal opinion, Peyton Falzone, at least the highlights I've watched, is better than both of them. Just my opinion. I think he's a game changer. He can throw the ball at various arm angles. He can throw it rolling to his left, rolling to his right. He can throw off balance, off of one foot, off of his back foot. It doesn't matter. And you might think being 6'5", he's tall and lanky. Yes, he is kind of lanky, but he'll put weight on. I'm not worried about that. He also just happens to run a 4.5 40 and is a track star. 6'5" with a 4.5 40-yard dash and a rocket arm and an accurate thrower. Take this young man. If this young man's available, you grab him. You grab him. Even if it causes, in my opinion, even if one of the other two quarterbacks decommit, whatever, you got to take him. He's too good of a player not to take, in my opinion, as a freshman. I think he could potentially be the future of the program. I really do. I think he's that good. I'm that high on this young man. Maybe I've ended up being completely wrong and he ends up being terrible. I don't know. But I love his film. Go check it out. Peyton, P-E-Y-T-O-N, Falzone, F-A-L-Z-O-N-E. A lot of you may already know who I'm talking about, but if you can get him and Colton Joseph, even better. Bring them both in. One is a transfer, one is a freshman. It's a win-win. Let me know what you think, though, in the comments about this whole quarterback situation. I want to hear about it. All right. He loves passing the tight ends, says WVU Fan 13. Virginia Tech brought in the QB from Cali. Which one are you talking about, Jimmy McKenna? They did bring in a quarterback, yes. One that if it's Falzone's not from Cali, he's from PA, if that's who you were talking about. WFan 13 says ODU runs a similar offense as West Virginia. He would fit in perfectly. Absolutely. We're talking about Colton Joseph. Lifted Diesel says having the right quarterback could also land you Chris Henry Jr. Now, my understanding with Chris Henry Jr., based on what I'm hearing behind the scenes, is, guys, we need to let that go. He's not coming to West Virginia, I don't think. I'm about 99% confident Chris Henry Jr. is not coming to West Virginia, okay? So we need to let that go. Don't have our hopes up too high for that. There's also speaking of that, another Ohio State receiver commit that West Virginia had in on a visit. I think his name was Jaden Ricketts. He actually, after visiting West Virginia, he announced on social media today that he was locked into Ohio State. So he was also a 4-star. He was a 4-star. Chris Henry Jr. is a 5-star. Pretty sure Chris Henry Jr. is not coming to West. Now, he could end up flipping to Oregon, or I think he'll stay at Ohio State. But either way, I don't think he's coming to Morgantown. So we need to let that go probably. Seymour says he trusts Rich Rod to coach up skill players, invest heavily in the O-line and D-line, and let the rest fall into place. But, man, if you can get a game-changing quarterback, you have to take him, in my opinion. I mean, a great quarterback could be the difference in 2 to 3 wins a year. I'm serious. I mean, they told JT Daniels that. He would be the difference from 6 wins to 10 wins. Now, that didn't pan out. But in their mind, he was going to. Joseph would push Scotty hard, Couz. I hope we get foul zone 2, but may not be able to afford all 3. Best man wins. Yeah, you're right. Especially with Hewley and Wyatt Walker-Brown already coming in, But, again, it's a business now. So if you've got a quarterback out there, if they feel like foul zone is better than Wyatt Brown or Jaron Hewley, maybe they go out and get him anyway. And we all know that Markio's likely going to transfer. There's Max Brown may transfer. Henderson's probably going to graduate. So, Scotty Keene's not going to be on the roster anymore. He's graduating. So West Virginia is probably going to lose the majority of the quarterbacks from the room. So they should have room for some guys. Now, again, money's a thing, right? And Scotty Fox has to put enough on tape. He's probably going to get some schools come after him. And is he demanding? Is he going to demand $750,000? Which is what I've heard. I think it was Chris Anderson and Mike Azaza talked about that on their show. That is the going rate for a Power 4 quarterback right now. Just to retain one. To get one out of the portal might cost you even more money. Locked on West Virginia chimes in. He says he was on a 4-7 team and had the lowest graded right side of the O-line in all of football. Talking about Scotty Fox. Correct. All of that is accurate. Shaggy of WV says Sataki turned down PSU to stay at BYU. That's what I heard, Shaggy. Thank you for the update, brother. Thank you for the update. Live to Diesel says, I used to deliver to Neal Brown. His whole family was fantastic. Thank you for that. I appreciate the update. It's really cool that you got to meet him. I hated the things that I wanted things with him to work out. I really did, but it didn't. Browns and Beer says you're more so happy for the BYU being able to keep Sataki in the conference or worried about West Virginia falling behind within the conference with BYU's new NIL commitment. It's a great Browns and Beers. It's a great question. I don't know I haven't read about the commit yet, but I assume that was probably part of their discussions. Man, I don't know. It's kind of a catch-22, I guess. Is that the right metaphor? I don't know. I made a statement on X that it's not good for the individual teams in the Big 12 that he's coming back because BYU is going to continue to roll, but it's good for the conference as a whole and their perception on a national level. As a West Virginia fan first, I'm going to say it probably would not have hurt my feelings had he went to Penn State. However, that being said, I'm thinking out loud, talking through this. West Virginia recruits against Penn State a lot more than they do BYU because of the location. So it might have actually been worse for WVU for him to be at Penn State. I don't know. You could look at it either way. Browns and Bears, at the end of the day, I have a ton of respect for the guy, the way he runs a program, and I wish him nothing but the best. I'm glad he's probably getting a pay bump. I'm glad his staff is getting a pay bump. They all deserve it. But at the same time, I do not want BYU to be a really good team. So, I don't know, man. It's a tricky question to answer. It is good for the conference as a whole, no doubt. Neal didn't have enough good players, Couz, and Rod didn't either this year. When we have a handful of NFL types on both sides of the ball, then we'll get where we all want to be, bottom line. That's right, but the coaches, both of them, Brown and Rod, are both responsible for recruiting the players and evaluating the players and bringing them in and out of the portal, whatever it may be. It's their responsibility. The buck stops with the head coach. Recruiting is at least 50% of the job, if not more. And I don't think – in my opinion, I don't think Neal Brown did a bad job recruiting necessarily. I didn't think their player development was all that great there at certain positions. And I think he made some staffing decisions that backfired on him. And he was a little bit too hard-headed and stubborn to make changes when he needed to, meaning on staff. But I don't know that recruiting was necessarily his problem. And I don't think it's going to be a problem with Rich Rod. This is going to be Rich Rod's first full recruiting cycle. So we're really not going to get a feel for, how good of a recruiter he is based on last year, right? Because he had to fill up with so many portal guys just to fill the roster and everything. He was so late in the process. But after this year, we'll get a little bit better feel for his recruiting and, how good the players he brings in are. I haven't went to the website because I'm from West Virginia and I can't read. Thank you, Lifted Diesel. I appreciate that, brother. I needed the comedy today. He also doesn't think Scotty Fox is worth it. He sure didn't prove it in the last game, but neither did anybody else from the team. And I think that might have been what Paul was answering to there. I'd love to get Paul's take if he thinks Scotty Fox is worth $750,000 or so in that ballpark. Browns and Beer says Pete Nakos claim BYU is adding $10 to $15 million to NIL on top of revenue sharing. Holy cow. Wow. Well, what did we heard Rich Rod say what? That West Virginia needed $10 million, right? He said West Virginia needed $10 million to compete in the Big 12. So that number seems to be holding true, and BYU is committing to it. Can West Virginia follow suit? We will see. The coaching staff missed on several position evaluations with the current team. I agree. But again, according to Coach Rod, I'm taking him at his word. Their backs were against the wall from an NIL perspective. Their backs were against the wall a little bit with timing. He was so late in the game, he didn't get to bring in a full high school recruiting class. He had to play, and the 20-some players that Neal Brown's staff was able to bring in, I think they brought in 22 or 11, 21 guys, I think, is what Chris and Mike talked about on their show, and 11 of those transferred out after spring because they just weren't, for whatever reason, didn't fit what Coach Rod wanted to do, or they weren't happy, whatever. Either way, they transferred out. So he's left with 10 of them from that class that Neal Brown brought in. We got a super chat coming in from Jake T 304. Thank you, brother. He says he gifted 10 Couz's. No, it's not a super chat. It's gifted memberships. Awesome. Jake T, thank you, man. He gifted memberships too. Earth Ether, Joe Romano, Matthew Watkins, Bob Swanger, Reaper 1234, a Chinchillio, CB Mitch, Aaron Riffle, Jay McClanahan, and Goalie 730. Thank you all for being here. Be sure to thank Jake T304 for the gifted memberships. I'm going to do my best to get you guys some early videos out. I've been slacking on that lately. get you guys some more members-only content out. I've been slacking on that. I apologize, but I will do better. I'm going to go ahead. And matter of fact, that deserves an applause. Thank you very much for the generosity there, Jake T, man. It's much appreciated. Very much appreciated. I do have plans to, at some point, do a members-only live stream. Need to get that on my calendar at some point here in the near future. Anyone willing to coach Penn State next year? This is Evan B. Daniels. Anyone. Yeah, it's what are they going to do, man? Coaches keep coming, available coaches keep coming off the list, man. Do they end up promoting Terry Smith, the head coach? I don't think so. I've heard Kalen DeBoer's name thrown out. I'm not sure if he's even still a candidate or not. They're probably going to have to go the G6 route. They're going to have to go find a really good G6 coach. Maybe Brian Kelly. Do you go that route? Do you go Mike Gundy? Some of these coaches that got let go from other programs, I don't know. I doubt they would want to go that route. But it'll be interesting to see what they do end up doing and who they do end up landing. But, man, they're in a bad spot. Think about it. They were the first team to fire their coach, if I recall. At least one of the first ones. And almost every other team afterwards has already hired their coach. Oklahoma State's hired a coach. Virginia Tech's hired a coach. North Texas, Arkansas, LSU, Ole Miss. They hired their coach in like a couple days. Just go down the list. They've all hired coaches. Every one of them. Penn State's still searching for their guy. I think their candidates are not. I think the people they're interviewing, WVU Fan 13, I don't think they're interested in the job for whatever reason. Not sure why. I think they're trying to swing big and get a big name, and it just isn't working for them. They might have to, we saw Bob Chesney, the coach at JMU. I think he's going to UCLA. So he's off the board. Swabby G, a.k.a. Appalachia Africa Twin, says celebrates 13 months of membership. 143 watching and only 36-ish likes. Show Couz some love and hit that thumbs up button. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Please hit the thumbs up button below, whether you're watching live or watching on the playback. It really helps me with the algorithm. And thank you so much, Swabby G, a.k.a. Appalachia Africa Twin. Ravens in the house says, I'm still in shock over the Texas Tech butt kicking. I know they are really good, but, man, we couldn't get anything rolling. I know it was ugly. I didn't expect us to win, but I thought it would at least be competitive. It was the complete opposite of competitive. Raven, you're absolutely right. And thank you for being here, by the way. Browns and Beers again says, somewhat selfish. I agree with Josh Pate's take of them taking Matt Campbell out of the Big 12. That's a name I keep forgetting to talk about. I heard his name kind of early on in the search, but I haven't heard it lately. Maybe he ends up being the guy. I don't know. Be interesting to see. But he's definitely a good football coach, no doubt about it. He doesn't have a ton of resources there at Iowa State to work with. I've heard Brian Brom's name pop up, but again, he's a Louisville alum. Is he willing to leave Louisville for Penn State? I don't know. Brian Daboll's name, the former coach for the Giants, his name pops up. Former OC for the Buffalo Bills at one time. So I like, I think that would be a good hire, but I'm a little biased. So anyway, it'll definitely be interesting to see who Penn State lands for these jobs. I haven't done a video on. I try to focus on WVU content here, obviously, and a little bit of Big 12 stuff. Just don't have time to cover national stuff very often. So, maybe one of these days I'll be able to do that a little more frequently, because I do enjoy talking about some of these coaching searches and things like that. But anyway, really appreciate you all hopping on here. Again, if you're watching on the playback, please like it. If you're watching live, please like it before you leave. All you have to do is hit the X in the chat box. You'll see the thumbs up button. You hit it, and you can go down and hit the chat box again, and it expands it and brings it right back up so you don't miss a thing. And it doesn't exit out of the show or anything like that. if you're watching it live. Also, if you're watching on the replay, there's a button below called Hype. If you're watching on a mobile device, that is, between the download button and a little heart with a dollar sign, which is called the thanks button, which, by the way, that's basically like a super chat on a pre-recorded video is all that is. If you want to use that, that'd be great too. But there's a button called Hype. It's free to hit it. It just shows YouTube that, hey, I want to hype this guy. I want to hype this show. I really like it. Please hit that. You can do that 3 times a week. What Seymour say that I want to hear. Don't be surprised when Urban Meyer walks into that job. That would be interesting. It's my understanding that I think he told somebody recently, if I recall, that he wasn't interested in getting back into coaching, but I could be wrong. WVU Fan 13 says, I finally got over the Cam Vaughn give up interception play. Do we hit the portal for a number 1 wide receiver or leave him at number 1? I don't – if that was a one-time occurrence, right, and if Rich Rod knows Cam Vaughn, he coached him for 2 years, 3 years now actually, I think. He's going to know him better than any of us. Maybe it was just a dumb, idiotic brain fart, whatever you want to call it. If that's the case, you keep him and try to build around him. Hopefully Jaden Bray comes back. There you go. If not, then yes, you probably need to go out and try to find a wide receiver. I think Jaden Bray is actually good enough to be your wide receiver 1, but he can't stay healthy. That's the problem with Jaden Bray. He can't stay on the field. And if you're not on the field, you can't perform, right? But I do look forward to hopefully him getting a healthy year next year. Would be great. Cody Parsons in the house says, I'd be afraid to coach at Penn State too. I mean, you win like crazy and make the playoff appearances, and it's not good enough. That's a fair point. It's a fair point. Most coaches around the country disagreed with that decision that Penn State made. So is it a place that coaches want to go to? It's a great, great point. Shannon Miller 70 says, sorry, Raven, when they have NFL players and you don't, that's the result. That was my point earlier about having NFL-type players. All about the money. Yeah. And again, that's, is West Virginia supposedly is going to be in a better situation financially this time around. We will see. The transfer portal opens, first or second week of January? So here in about a month, we will be able to see just how much more money West Virginia has. Do they go land some big fish or not? Do they bring in more guys who were backups to the backups? That's what we got to see. But anyway, I'm going to jump off of here. It's been a fun show. I appreciate you all hopping on here. Again, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all those things. You know the routine. Be sure to check us out on social media at Couz Walker, at COUZWALKER on Twitter. Check out the WV Sports Chat site and the WV Sports Chat Facebook page, please. Help us out over there. Jonathan and I are building that sucker up too. Again, if you need website needs, go to AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. Thanks to the fine folks at Rogue Sports Network for allowing me to be a part of their family. Also, don't forget the 365 Sports newsletter comes out every Wednesday at noon. Go subscribe to that. Go to 365sports.video. Get all your Big 12 content in one place. Thanks for tuning into the show. I appreciate every one of you. God bless you, and Q Country Roads.